The new Petra Christian University building is the first green building in Surabaya. Its green status is withheld through the 10% site area being green area. This can be seen with the many plants and fauna hanging off the sides of the walls and the garden rooftops. This building also recycles rainwater, which is then harvested for other uses such as toilet flushing water. The physical design of the building serves many purposes. For instance, the orientation of the building alongside east to west takes advantage of the solar pathway, which in turn reduces the use of electrical lighting, meaning a decrease in operating expenses, hence the conservation of energy. Now, although the building wasn't officially opened yet, just from the tour guide, we were able to see how much consideration took place with regards to the sustainable practices of the building, like the many windows and openings which allow for maximum light penetration and natural ventilation. Learning about the volcanic mud eruption during the lecture and being able to see it in person was very fascinating. It was interesting to learn exactly how the extracted mud could be chemically transformed to be used as a construction material. When stepping on the mud itself, it felt like normal mud, so it was pretty impressive how this waste product acquires comparable properties as cement. When on site, it was pretty astounding to see exactly how much coverage the mud took over. Even when looking in the distance, all you could see was a plain view with just more mud. When you hear about the numerical figure quantifying the amount of mud, you can't necessarily attribute an amount to it unless you physically see it firsthand. I would have never expected this mud to have such similar characteristics as cement, since when you look at the two products, they're completely different. The site visit to Madison Avenue high-rise building really demonstrated to me how different construction is compared with Australia. What really stood out to me was the extremely ridiculous amount of reinforcement used. It's as if the reinforcement alone could be its own building. The amount of reinforcement used, however, vouches for the country's proneness to earthquakes. And because of this, structures in Indonesia are generally much stronger than those in Australia. Another area that really stuck to me was the difference in safety. On site, many of the workers weren't wearing PPE, and tasks such as working from a certain height without any harness, barrier, or bystanding supervisor seems like normal practice in Indonesia. Visiting Teluk Lamong was by far my favorite site visit. Attaining the title as the first green port in Indonesia, it is no surprise it is recognized as the fifth main port in the world. The port consists of automated mechanisms to export and import containers to and from the shipping vessels. The use of manless operations not only mean reduced labor costs, but safety is heightened. Being operated and maintained using electrical and gas-run equipment, it not only makes this port environmentally sustainable, but it also attributes to further reduced costs. Adopting advanced technology in the form of automated stacking cranes and combined tractor terminals, I assumed that using such efficient and effective technology would be extremely complex and complicated. However, being operated via a control room, the use of touch control systems allows for ease of use and convenience. I was quite surprised when I found out that each worker had no prior knowledge or skill with regards to automated machinery, and that they were easily trained within 3 or so days. While on the tour, some of us were even able to take over and take control of transporting a shipping container. This just goes to show that advanced technology isn't all that intricate or difficult. The grandeur and opulence of the system not only make this port a highly successful commercial operation, but a very captivating and intriguing design to admire. The traditional dance we were taught involved moves which primarily consisted of clapping notions and semi-synchronized movements. Since this was a traditional dance, some of the hand positioning and postures had to be proper and prominent. So for instance, when we bowed at the start and when we placed our palm on our side when we kneeled. I'm not quite sure if this traditional dance had any meaning behind each particular dance move, but if it did, I wish we were able to briefly go through its value or significance. But overall, surprisingly, I found myself enjoying the dance class in the end, since at first I was a bit hesitant with doing this activity, since I have no expertise or skill in dancing. But simply learning something new along with everyone else, since we were all on the same boat, it was very entertaining and really fun. This cultural activity consisted of batik making on a face mask, keychain, and sheet of cloth. Prior to starting batik, we are briefly educated on the deeper roots of batik and how various design arrangements alludes to or conjugates with a particular meaning. When being told that some batik works take up to a year to complete, I honestly didn't believe it until I went through the process myself. I underestimated how timely and patient you have to be during this whole procedure. Finishing this mask alone made me realize the hard work, skill, patience, and years of practice it takes for the completion of intricate and extremely detailed traditional batik. After this whole activity, I've come to greatly appreciate not only the final work of batik, but also the process and stages that are undergone to achieve such elaborate and extravagant pieces. Overall, I've learned so many new things, both construction related and cultural related. Through this trip, I've gained a broadened understanding with various construction methods, processes, and standards between Australia and Indonesia. If I was ever fortunate enough to go on this trip again, I would definitely take that opportunity.